Many students during the course of their lease will find that they need to leave the property before the end of their lease. In this situation, they're looking for a sublease. What's most commonly called a sublease actually is typically an assignment of the lease. In either event, your lease should have a provision that authorizes you to sublease or assign your lease, but requires that you obtain the consent of the landlord before doing so. Now, the landlord cannot unreasonably withhold that consent, but that doesn't mean that you can just run down to the mall and find the first person you see to come take your spot in your house. Now, there are several things that you need to consider when you're subleasing. Number one, will the new tenant that's going to take your space be able to pay the rent? If not, you're still going to be liable to pay the rent that they can't pay, unless the landlord has specifically released you from further liability under the lease. Similarly, is the new tenant going to maintain the property, or are they going to cause excessive damage to the property? Are they a party animal that is going to kick holes in the wall, for example? Similarly, with the rent, if they cause excessive damage, you can be held liable for that, unless the landlord has specifically released you from liability. Also, what about that security deposit you paid to the landlord? Are you going to get that back from the landlord and the new tenant will pay a security deposit? Or is the new tenant going to pay you a security deposit and then you can assign your rights to the security deposit held by the landlord to the new tenant? If you're the new tenant moving into the property, you want to make sure that you're not paying for damage that was caused by the tenant that's moving out. And again, you need to come to some kind of agreement as to a security deposit paid to the new tenant or to the landlord. Finally, you need to understand that finding a sublessee or someone to take your spot can take some time. As you can well imagine, in May, at the end of the semester, a lot of students leave Boulder and they're looking to sublease their properties. So there are a lot of places that become available and not a whole lot of people that are looking to move into those places. If you know that you're going to need to sublease your property, for example, if you know you're going to study abroad in the spring semester, start looking for a sublease, a person to sublease your property in the fall as soon as you know. Now, we have sublease forms up at off-campus housing. If you have other questions or you just want to go over a sublease agreement, you can come up and we can sit down and talk about your specific situation.